Many years ago, on the New England River pictured here, I was taught quite a lesson. As I waited for a spinner fall, I thought I had every situation covered, but soon found out otherwise. The spinners came early and trout began to feed. There were slurping, gulping, slashing, and sipping rises everywhere, except to my imitation. Welcome back. Today we're tying the imitation I should have had in my fly box on that aforementioned night. The hook in the vise is a size 12 dry fly. To begin, get the thread started on the hook shank about a third of the way down from the eye. Wrap the thread to a position that's about even with the hook point, and trim the excess. For the tails, I'm using microfibbets in a dun color, but any color that you decide to use is fine. Measure the fibers to make a tail that's slightly longer than the hook shank, and secure with a tying thread to the beginning of the bend. There's several ways to split the tail, but I like using a combination of thread wraps and thread tension to accomplish this. Separate the fibers with your fingers and bring the thread up between them. Next, use the thread to pull the fibers apart so they splay out. Bring the thread underneath the individual tails to keep them even with the shank of the hook. It takes a little time, but with practice you'll get the technique. One method is as good as another. There's no right or wrong way. With the tails split, take a small pinch of yellow superfine dubbing to create the egg sac. Take your time and wind the dubbing thread to form a small ball. The spinners will lay their eggs from the air, or when they rest briefly on the water. Tying the egg sac gives a more realistic imitation. Now, take a small amount of rusty superfine and dub a very thin noodle for the body of the fly. Spinners have thinner abdomens than the duns. Wrap the dubbing up to the original tie-in point. Now trim the butt ends of the tails and cover with thread if necessary. Take the hackle, here a whiting saddle, this is in medium dun, and tie in front of the body. You should have about a quarter of an inch of stem stripped of fibers, and give about a half turn to begin the wrapping. Cut the stem, and cover the end with touching wraps of thread to just short of the eye. Take 6 or 7 turns of the hackle to build a good collar which will help support the fly and keep it floating high on the surface. Tie off the hackle with turns of thread both behind and in front of the feather. This hackle will allow the fly to ride higher on the surface, triggering hungry trout. Cut the hackle, grab your whip finish tool, and make a 4 or 5 turn whip finish. Make sure the knot is secure before cutting the tying thread. Now come in with your scissors and trim any stray or trapped hackle fibers, and the fly is ready for the water. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope it gives you an additional fly you can use when spinners are on the water.